Social media, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with social media because I feel like it, yeah, it helps, but it's definitely not something that I found for myself to be personally reliable. It seems to help get the word out there and get activity and get followers, but of course followers don't equal dollar signs, and so really I try to utilize social media as more of awareness, show kind of we're out here, this is what we're doing, build kind of a rapport with our customers. Um, and it helps kind of, a rising tide lifts all boats. So it helps kind of lift everything else in our farm business, but it's by no means. I think sometimes people get caught up a little bit too much in metrics and followers. That metrics and followers and social media definitely don't equal dollar signs, don't equal sales. And really, for utilizing social media, the way to do it is really just trying to get people from our social media to our email list, so we can get them on our newsletter, start building that trust, and turn them into a customer. We advertise on social media from time to time. We have specials, but we try to do it real sparingly. It's more of just, hey, let's say hello and show them what we're doing on the farm, and hopefully they become, a loyal fan and follower. And then we sell to them in private. So social media is public. We don't really sell in public a whole lot. We just kind of tell them about what we're doing, show pictures of the farm, and then we sell to them in private, on our email list and that sort of thing. Seems like a lot of farmers are in a couple different buckets, right? We have a couple different buckets that people can fall into. One being, and there's different problems, and sometimes I find that folks are very aware of their problem, but they don't know the solution, or they're aware of the solution, but they don't know the answer, how to get to that solution. And so this is, I think, is a cool little exercise just to kind of identify, um, kind of where we are, what we're at, and potential solutions. So, the first thing we really need to do is look at, where are we at? What's our problem? Do we have no online store, very few customers, and very few sales? Um, do we have no online store, a few customers, maybe seasonal sales? So maybe we're doing some farmers markets, a little word of mouth, that sort of thing. Or do you feel like you fall into the third bucket where you have an online store, you have some customers, maybe some seasonal sales, but very little store traffic, so very little visitors to your online store, and or a small email list. So just out of curiosity, which bucket do you think you would put yourself in, A, B, or C? So if we don't have an online store, have very few customers, very few sales, the first solution that I see is to get immediate sales. And so that's kind of number one. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, and you guys probably have experimented with some of them. Real quick, if you want to get access to all the information that I'm talking about, and you want to get access to this document, click the link down below in the description of this video, and you can get instant access to this document that you can keep and review on your own. Selling to chefs is fantastic because you can get immediate return on the investment. You can usually go in and talk to a few chefs and get orders pretty relatively quickly. Sometimes it takes some follow up, takes a few emails to kind of really build that relationship and actually get them to purchase from you. But the nice thing about it is once you get a chef on board, you can sell to him throughout the year, consistent every week or every month, which is really nice. You can pretty much build a whole farm business just selling to chefs. I mean, that's all we did on our farm for the first 4 to 5 years. We were like 98% of our sales were strictly to chefs, and we could have continued that model and just stuck with that. But we were leasing some land at the time. We had about 15 acres we were leasing from somebody, and we lost that lease. And it was getting to be a hassle to do that many birds. And I wanted to really focus on direct consumer because I knew that we could make a lot more profit per bird rather than wholesaling it to chefs. But this, you can sell to chefs and pretty much make, your entire business just on that. And so I cover this I give you the strategy and kind of what we do and how to do this in the Pasture Poultry Blueprint. There's a section on marketing to chefs. Another way you can get immediate sales is selling at farmers markets. And so there is a guide in there about farmers market dominance, how we've really done well in the farmers markets. And I think there's a couple key things. Farmers markets are great. They are seasonal, but talk about getting personal feedback from people. I mean, it's fantastic to go there in a weekend and get, $400 or $500 in sales and get immediate feedback on knowing what people like, what they don't like, what the price is, figuring out what your pricing should be, what's flying off the shelf, what's not moving on the shelf. Farmers markets are awesome. Um, and then also on farm stand and events. These are great ways to really get your name out there. Whenever we do it on events, whenever we do a farm tour, I'll advertise a farm tour. Even if I just have a handful of people come out, by the time I walk around with them for an hour or so and show them the farm and what we're doing, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this. They are so ready to buy. They are usually, and they're usually buying a lot of stuff. It's usually people that are really engaged in our farm, really excited about what we're doing, want to see it firsthand. And by the time I finish that tour, take them around, tell them about everything we do, we get back to the end. I stop in front of the freezer. Sometimes I give them some samples of what we do. I have our board up there with all of our items, all the pricing on it, and they're usually buying several $100s worth of stuff each person. And so, talk about a great way to get some revenue in the door. So, those are great starting points if you're looking at getting immediate sales. Um, as far as selling direct to consumer, some folks, kind of, I think taking that first step is key. And then the next step is, a lot of the things like we talked about, farmers markets are very seasonal, or we're doing word of mouth or social media. It's very hit or miss, right? We have some customers, we have some sales, but it's not enough to really be consistent. And so the solution to that is really having an online store that can convert and give you sales year round. There is a lot to making an online store work. It is very difficult because you have to have so many pieces. It's like building a car, and if you're missing one of the parts, it doesn't run properly. And and so part of this is getting all these pieces in place and make sure they're all working correctly. Because you can have an online store, and the average what you're kind of shooting for is 1 to 2% of your visitors to your online store are purchasing from you. If you're getting less than that, then one of these pieces is not firing correctly. Um, so couple of the key pieces you need with your online store is, of course, you need an email marketing software. You need an email list of customers that you're sending weekly newsletters to. Uh, in addition to those weekly newsletters talking about what you got going on the farm, you also need a welcome series. So a series of about 3 or 4 emails, welcoming, talking about your farm, what you do. Occasionally you'll run promos. So we'll do a launch of a product and we'll do a little promotional series like here's our best product, check this out. That's a series of 3 or 4 emails that get sent out over about a week or so. And then we'll also do special launches. So we'll do, if we have a new product or we're trying to pre-sell, like let's say we have a harvest date coming up in 2 months. Ideally, I'd like to pre-sell that. So I'll send a list of emails, a series of emails over a period of time saying, hey, reserve your product now so we can get that money up front and we can get it paid for before we even get the processor. So setting up those email series, having an abandoned cart workflow is another very important email. When you have people that go to your store but don't purchase, they add something to cart but they don't buy it, you can set up automations, workflows using either Facebook ads or your email marketing software if it's connected. That sends them an email that says, "Hey, you missed." I'm sure you guys have seen this. Hey, you left something in your cart. The average return on this is huge. Like, I think it's around 80%. The statistics, 80% of people that add an item to their cart abandon it, and a lot of times with the abandoned cart workflow, sending them 1 or 2 emails saying, "Hey, you left something in your cart," we can recover a significant portion of that revenue. Another thing for getting that online store to work is Facebook advertising. Paid advertising can be very tricky. There's a lot to it, but it does help run traffic, put eyeballs on your store if done correctly. Um, Retargeting is a specific Facebook ad, and you can set up retargeting different ways. One way is that you can set up to where anybody who goes to your store but leaves, you can set up a retargeting ad that shows them a specific ad, says, "Hey, I saw you looked at this product. Are you still interested in it?" Kind of like an abandoned cart workflow, except for it's not an email. It's just a Facebook advertisement that pops up on their page. Um, Other parts of an online store, having making sure it's CRO is conversion rate optimization, just making sure it's converting properly. Looking at things such as the website speed, how quickly does it load, how streamlined is your checkout process? Is it clunky? Do they have to fill out a lot of forms, or is it super easy and quick? They just click one button. SEO can help your website. It's not super critical, but it does help with Google search and people finding your website. Um, and so there's just a lot of parts and pieces really to make sure that your website works, and it's not always easy to get those done, to get those put in correctly. Um, Lastly, if you've got an online store and it's converting at 1-2% of the visitors are actually turning into buyers, you may have some seasonal sales, you have some customers, maybe you're doing some sales in the store, it's converting now. Now that your next problem is having enough traffic going to that store. If you have an email list of only a couple hundred people, it's really hard to get to that revenue goal you have for yourself. So the next step is really building up a list of uh, customer email addresses, building up your email list, and also getting traffic to your online store. And so that's kind of the next thing that you'll need to solve. And I don't want to go in too depth. We have solutions for all of these problems, and this is not, I'm not here to try to make a sales pitch here, but I just wanted to show you that we have some solutions if you guys are finding that you're getting stuck at a certain point, uh, depending on which bucket you're in or how far along you are in the process. We have certain pieces that can help you through that. So I just wanted to
Well,
mention.
yeah, it sounded like all of us are in the point of not having a store and not getting the sales. So are we going to be building out a store and website and email list with you, or are we doing this separately and then coming back to you for, optimization? How should we be approaching this together?
Yeah, good question, David. In the case of folks that are part of the Pasture Poetry Blueprint, which is what this coaching call is, it's part of the Pasture Poetry Blueprint. There's a lot of information in there on kind of how to get this going. How to do your email series and try to do a lot of stuff when you're kind of get that moving. Um, for those folks and there's a couple of folks here that are part of the Farm Profit Accelerator, the more advanced program, we cover all this stuff. So all these items here, all these solution items, that this is all stuff that's covered in the Farm Profit Accelerator. So to answer your question, that
Okay.
stuff that we would build out for you, we would do all this that you see for you, basically. I hope you've got some great value from this little presentation here. I hope that this has helped you identify your problem on your farm, a solution, and possible fix to get you to that next level. My name is Farmer Jeff Sawicki. I built a six-figure regenerative successful farm on just 5 acres of land, and I have coached and trained over 50 plus farmers how to build profitable, successful farms that are not only regenerative for the environment, but also regenerative for the farmer and financially viable. So if you like what you've seen in this video, go ahead and click the link down below to get access to this document. And feel free to reach out to me or somebody on my team. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you grow your farm.